Hi everyone, Cherie from Ashima Living here. I'm a naturopath, yoga and mindfulness instructor, and I help people overcome anxiety, low mood and burnout naturally and without nasty side effects. Today I wanted to talk about the crucial importance of maintaining stable blood sugar levels if you suffer from anxiety. And not just anxiety, this is really useful for burnout, for fatigue, for low mood as well, but especially for anxiety. I'm going to try and make this snappy. I've only got 18% battery left and I don't want it to run out. So, most important thing to understand first of all is anxiety has both physical and mental and environmental triggers or precipitating factors. So mental, you probably are aware of these things like if you're really worried about something, for example, giving a presentation the next day and you feel really anxious and stressed, you get that release of stress hormones based on what you're thinking mentally. Environmental could be, for example, the next day you're driving to that presentation, you're stuck in traffic, you're going to be late, and then sure enough you get that boost of stress hormones as well. So we're well aware of these kinds of triggers of anxiety, but what you may not be aware of is physical ones, things that are happening in our body that also can increase the stress response and our cortisol levels. So these can be things like inflammation, which is really common, and that's a big one for low mood as well. I'm going to touch on that in a different video. Things like food intolerances. If you're eating the wrong foods day in and day out, that's very stressful for the body and can increase stress hormones. Infections, particularly hidden infections. So I see a lot of people that have gut infections like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, these kinds of things, parasites, which can be triggering stress responses. And the big one that I want to talk about today is dysregulated blood sugar. And you might be thinking, well, I'm not diabetic, I've had my blood sugars checked at the doctor's, I'm fine. But the truth is, a lot of us have dysregulated blood sugar that doesn't show up on a blood test and that can be there for decades before it becomes diabetes without really realizing it. And the way this affects our anxiety or stress hormones is it's dangerous for the body to have a blood sugar level that's too high or too low. So when that happens, the adrenals will release stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, and then the body will kind of get into action to normalize those blood sugar levels as best it can. So symptoms of dysregulated blood sugar, things like if you're hangry, if you haven't eaten and you get really irritable, grumpy, angry, snappy, if you crave starchy foods like potatoes, bread, pasta, chips, or sweet foods like sugar, or pick-me-ups like coffee. If you suffer from frontal headaches, classic one is that mid-morning, mid-afternoon energy dip, or like brain fog where you can't really concentrate anymore. Other ones are if you skip a meal and you feel nauseous or dizzy or lightheaded and you can feel your heart racing. Other ones are, let me just check my notes if I've missed any. Brain fog, poor concentration. They're pretty much the main ones. And also anxiety can be a symptom of low blood sugar. So I've seen people get panic attacks or increased anxiety when their blood sugars are low. So it can be interesting to track that. So what are the worst things for fluctuating blood sugars? Skipping meals. And this can be a tricky one because a lot of people with anxiety, because they're in that fight or flight response, which kind of shuts down the digestive system, a lot of people with anxiety don't want to eat or don't have any appetite. And so they go a long time without eating food. But the problem is this is like a vicious circle because then they're skipping meals, their blood sugar is dysregulated, they're releasing more cortisol, it's making them more anxious, and it's just this vicious circle that goes round and round. So it is important even to just try and eat small amounts throughout the day, particularly of protein and healthy fat, to kind of break this vicious cycle. Eating foods that are high GI, high glycemic index foods, which is pretty much most of our modern day diet. So things like sugar, white flour products, so bread, pasta, muffins, baked goods, anything that's made from flour, potatoes, even white rice. These are all things, noodles, these are all things that spike our blood sugars. Caffeine as well can do it. And I'm always surprised by how many of my anxiety patients drink coffee. Yeah, I'm going to do a separate video on caffeine and anxiety as well. So yeah, eating high GI foods, skipping breakfast is a big one. Any kind of fasting, intermittent fasting, I know it can help some people, but from my experience, it's not great for people that are experiencing anxiety or burnout, because it is kind of putting a bit of pressure on the adrenals. And yeah, I guess the classic kind of thing that I often see is usually a busy woman who's suffering from anxiety, fatigue, brain fog, and she's either skipping breakfast or she's having something like a piece of toast with honey. Terrible breakfast for your stress hormones, and for a lot of reasons, but especially for anxiety and blood sugar. And then maybe she's just snacking on little things, popcorn or crackers or something like that. And then dinner is something like, pasta or something that's very, very carb heavy. And this means that her blood sugar is just fluctuating all day, which means her stress hormones are going to be on high alert all day as well. So what are the best things to do to keep our blood sugar levels stable? First of all, having breakfast within 1 hour of waking up. And breakfast in particular, you want to avoid the starchy carbs and have protein, healthy fat, and fiber. So some examples of these could be, for example, eggs with non-starchy vegetables, onions, mushrooms, broccoli, leek, cabbage, those kinds of things, with some avocado, for example, for fat. You could have a smoothie with avocado or coconut yogurt, a good protein powder, and then some low sugar, low GI fruits like berries, for example. That's going to give you your fiber, or add in some like linseed meal or sunflower meal or nut butter or something like that. Or you could have breakfast a bit like dinner, which a lot of non-Western cultures do. You could have something like a meat and vegetable stew for breakfast, which is great in winter. And that's really good for setting up your blood sugar levels for the day. If you must drink coffee, always after breakfast, once you've got something in your stomach. And then throughout the day, you want to eat regularly. You want to have some snacks between meals, and you want to make sure these snacks and meals have that protein and healthy fat again. So a good snack could be some apple slices with nut butter. Lunch and dinner, again, that protein with some vegetables and some healthy fat, olive oil, avocado, a bit of butter, those kinds of things. I actually have a free anti-anxiety diet that goes through all of this in depth with some meal suggestions, and not just blood sugars, but looking at diet from other angles as well in terms of how it can benefit anxiety. So I have attached the link to this video, and you're welcome to go and grab that and try it out. And then the other thing is potentially taking supplements that can help improve your insulin sensitivity. So things like chromium, manganese, zinc, and magnesium. Zinc in particular is really important for anxiety on multiple levels. So that can be a really good one. But I do encourage you to work with a practitioner when it comes to supplements, because there's a lot of nuance in knowing what the right ones are for you and the best dosage, how long to take them, and that kind of thing. I actually offer free 30-minute online answers to anxiety consultations via phone or online video. So if you'd like to schedule one of those, just send me a message. If you have any questions about any of this, please just post them in the comments section and I'm happy to come back and answer them. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Bye.